Hello. A few things, I guess. Welcome back to another RWBY fanfiction reading. We are still doing A Stray Bunny by Odominico. And, my throat has been hurting quite a bit. I'm going to try to not shout, try to not yell, try to not be angry too much. I'm going to try to be nice and calm. Nice calm reading. Maybe slightly more boring, but we'll see. And also, as much as I would love to just sit in bed, not doing anything today, but I have things to do today, so I need to be doing this as well. Anyways, let us get started with Shattered, which doesn't sound good, but whatever. We'll get into it. Have you ever known what it's like to have your dreams broken, shattered, into a million little pieces around me? We all have dreams. Some are easy and fast, like I dream of eating a sandwich. Some dreams are impossible, but easy, like I want to eat that sandwich, but I'm highly allergic to peanuts, so I would die. Some dreams are easy but take a long time, like I want to reorganize the bathroom. But some take forever just for something impossible. I feel like that. I feel like someone just came up to me and told me that I need to stop breathing forever. I will never get over it. I didn't make it in. On the airship back, there was only around 100 people, 101 to be exact. Every year, there was one girl that would be sent off feeling like she was awful, but get a letter saying they would improve on and she would be able to come back to the school. I looked around and saw only one girl from Group A. She was wearing her battle clothes, and I realized that I was too. She was a little smaller than me, and her hair was cut short, and it was colored a deep blood red. She had a thin frame, yet her clothes fit tightly around her curves. She had a green leotard on and a darker green tutu. Her feet were covered by large pink point shoes. They were her weapons. When she kicked up, she could shoot a bullet out of the toe. I looked at her eyes and saw they were a bright green color. I'm guessing that's how she got her name. Clover Ackling. She looked at me and smiled a weak smile. I walked over to her and kept my face the same it was, heartbroken. Hey, she grinned a bit wider. I liked your fighting style. They didn't, I replied, keeping sorrow to my voice. I think that you're going to make it in, even though we kind of had the worst judge in the entire school. She laughed a little bit. Remember that boy that got like a 10 on how good of a fighter or something like that? I did. It was the boy that had the plain armor. His name is John Ark. He went after me, and he wasn't very good. When he got done, Crow accidentally gave him a 10. Anybody got an eraser, he shouted, but no one responded. Your lucky day, he said, after waiting a bit. Yeah, was all I responded. After that, we kept silent. Ouch. When we got to my stop, I stood up, and so did Clover. Your stop too? I asked, and she nodded. We got off and started walking to the forest. We were walking in silence for about 30 minutes when Clover broke it. So, she said, bumping into my shoulder. At the camp I live at, there has been a missing girl. I was wondering if you have seen her, she asked as we walked. What did she look like? I responded. She's a little smaller than you. Her hair is long and brown, and she has very large bunny ears. I tensed up, but didn't show it. I kept walking and shook my head. Nope, was all I responded. She shrugged. Oh well, we'll have to turn off here. Have fun, she called out, and I kept walking. After about 30 more minutes, I was a little more than halfway home. Okay. I heard a few noises in the woods. Hello, I asked, but there was no response. I asked again, and two girls walked out, and I looked at them. One was a bit smaller than me, and the other was a bit smaller than her. They looked at me and smiled. "Hi there," one said, and I looked at her. She was the one that was a bit smaller than me, and her hair was a dark brown. She had a staff on her back and a tattoo of an infinity sign, two short clocks in the center. The other one had short and red hair, I'm guessing. She had a staff as well, no tattoo though. We were wondering if you've seen a girl. She's about my height and has long brown hair and has bunny ears, I replied, the same as I did to Clover. "Well, if you haven't seen her, then we'll take you." The smallest girl jumped over me and hit my back. She did so. The other girl went around me and said a small chant before hitting her staff on the ground. All around us, the leaves that were forever falling stopped. Time had stopped, except for us. I saw the second girl come after me before she attacked. I hit her with my bag. Yeah, I kind of assumed this was Coco, because Velvet isn't really trying to hide her bunny ears right now. So, anyways. Okay. Anyways, I hit her with my bag, and she got knocked to the ground. The first girl went up to her and looked at the huge black and blue on her arm. "Hey, wasn't that bag rocks?" she called out. I responded by converting my bag into its Gatling gun in form and shot a few shots. "This," I said, and they both went off running. As I was almost home, time resumed to go on. Good. God damn it. The letter. I slumped to the ground and looked at the two slabs of stone that sat in front of me. I looked at them for a good long time before I broke. Sobs echoed through the forest for miles. They erupted out of me like cries of a newborn child. I looked at the grave of my brother. He was a blind faunus. He had the cutest little cat ears. They were orange with little white tips. He was adorable. And he was blind. It's hard to be blind, but even harder for him to want to be a huntsman at the same time. But he pulled through, and now a perfectly fine young woman with no body impairments or animal bits couldn't get into a school that he got into. I cried and I talked. I told him I was sorry. I didn't mean to be a failure and that I love him. And I felt he listened. But I also talked to my mom. She was the one who taught me to be a fine young lady, but I returned to her as a broken down mess. As I sobbed, I was interrupted. I was interrupted by a hand being placed on my shoulder. I looked up to see Velvet. She was dressed in the uniform and had a letter in her hand. But when she saw my face, I could see her spirit break. She had never seen me cry like this before. She looked at me and collapsed next to me, hugging me. I dropped my head and sobbed into her. She smelled like the familiar soaps in my home. She looked at me and smiled a weak smile. "Here, it'll make you feel a lot better, but the headmaster told me not to give it to you till a bit later in the day, so here," she said, handing me a letter. I looked at the letter that was in her hand. I grabbed it and looked at the seal. It was from Beacon. I looked at Val quickly and opened it. "Dear Miss Adele, we found your performance exceptional. We also found that your roommate, Miss Scarlatina, having a very interesting life. We would love for you to come back. We have some questions for you. You've taken in Velvet as basically a sister when many people have rejected her. Why did you do this? Why did you take in this helpless faunus? We would love to hear your answer when the airship picks you and Velvet up to come to Beacon in 1 week. Sincerely, Headmaster Ozpin in Goodwich." Well then, friend. It had almost been a week since I had read the letter and got accepted. Every day and night after that, I trained. I stayed up all day and night studying, training, and all things like that. I was not going to be unprepared. That was POV. I looked at Coco sitting at her desk with a coffee mug in hand. She had been studying nonstop. I looked at her once more before I decided to take action. I walked toward her desk and stood behind her. She was writing something down, and I read it. "Why were Grimm originally killed?" She stopped writing and scribbled a few words that had no relation to the question. She then looked through the other papers on the desk. She looked to the left and right of herself, but not behind, so she didn't see me. She pulled out brain, it just stopped working. Okay. She pulled out a paper with only a few words on it. I read Velvet Scarlatina, Bunny Girl. Next to Bunny Girl is a poor drawing of a rabbit that looked kind of like me when I was living in the old camp. Oof. I read further down the paper. Objective: get her ready to train. Side objective: to get her to actually like me. Which one will be harder? You, probably future me, ask. Probably the second one. I watched as she put a check next to the first one, but then she put an X next to it. Then she wrote, I think so. Next, she moved her pencil to the second one. Next to it, she put a little question mark. I looked at the paper and questioned it. Why did one of her goals say to be friends with me? She made great friends with Fox at Beacon. I didn't understand. Suddenly, I did. I looked down and saw there were small wet blotches on the paper, and Coco sniffed, not sniffled. I lashed around her, not caring if she thought I was a weirdo or a creep for watching her write down things. She gently pushed me off her and got up. I looked in her eyes. They were full of sadness and sorrow. I could tell much that she missed her brother and mom very much. I took her hands and held them for a while, not saying anything. After a few minutes, Coco said, "Let's sit down." I followed her to the couch and sat next to her. She put her head on my shoulder and hugged me. I hugged her back with everything I could. She cried and I held on to her. I felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders that I didn't know existed, and I knew why. I had always been saying to myself, what if she doesn't like me? What if she is just doing this for charity or something like that? Never once at that camp had someone ever loved me. I suddenly realized that I was crying too, and Coco knew why. She hugged me, and we just sat there sitting and crying and hugging and being the best friends we could be. I loved her, not in a weird way, but as a sister. Oh, I'm sure. I knew that she would look after me and make sure that I was the best huntress ever. Well, second best to her. Ha 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 ha. The day. Anyways. What? I don't even know. Anyways. Okay, Coco's POV. I woke up to the sound of footsteps. I looked up to see Velvet running around the house like mad. She was in her uniform for Beacon and had a curling iron in her hand. There was only half of her head curled, but there was also a small red mark on her left ear. She ran into the kitchen, opened the freezer. I heard her dump a few ice cubes in a bag and then close the bag and freezer. She walked down the hall and saw me watching and put the bag on her ear. "Hey," she screamed when she saw I was laughing. "You try getting burnt on the ear." She ran up to my bed and dropped the bag of ice on my stomach. The cold surprised me and I jumped, then grabbed the bag and got up. "Oh no," Velv said, backing away. "Oh yes," I screamed, running in here with the bag in my hand. We ran down the hall and into the kitchen living room area. She dove onto the couch and grabbed a blanket over her head and body. I stopped and snuck up to the couch, sat behind the couch waiting for her to pop up. After a minute, she said, "I need to finish my hair." She better not be in there. As soon as her foot touched the ground near me, I placed the bag on her ankle. She screamed and slipped backwards. I ran as fast as I could and grabbed her right before she would have hit the ground. She smiled as I pulled her up. She walked away and I snuck behind her. I slipped a bag of ice down her shirt and she squealed. "Get it out!" she yelled. "Oh God," she yelled, and I laughed. She got it out and glared at me. "I will get you back," she said menacingly, and I fake trembled. "Oh, not you, great and powerful Velvet." We laughed until we couldn't breathe, and then we got ready. When we got on the airship, I was a bit scared there would be another person who attacked the ship, but I realized if it happened on another ship where I was the only huntress there, I would have to fight. I smiled when I looked around. A lot of people that were in groups were around me or some shit, I don't know. I looked back and saw, oh no. Oh, jeez. I mean, I don't know. I should. Let's just get back to the story. Okay. I looked back at Velvet and saw she was already looking out the window. "What you looking at?" I asked. "I don't know, but I wish I had a camera. It's so pretty." Nice. I smiled and looked in the other areas. I was looking in the third or fourth one when I found Cat's Mirage. Hey, I said, and they looked at me shocked. Cass looked a bit different. She was letting her cat ears pop through her hoodie, and she had a different staff than the last time than strapped to her back. And yeah, she was wearing the uniform under her hoodie. Mirage was wearing the uniform too, but her weapons were also strapped to her back. I knew you would get in, Meow, Cass cheered, and Mirage smiled. I really thought you would get in too. I smiled and looked around once more. I saw the boy I met on the first day here sitting with his friend. I walked over after saying see you later to the girls and looked at him. His eyes were pure white. I tapped my foot and he looked at it. And he looked up. The boy next to him looked at me as well. I smiled. Today was going to be fun. The Day Part 2. Which, yeah, alright. I don't know. I may say, after this chapter, we end the episode. Okay. I looked around the halls as we walked in the cliffside. All first-year students were asked to report there. Velvet didn't really have much of a weapon other than my old ones, but I thought she was ready. Who do you think will be on our team? Velvet asked, hopping along. Maybe we'll be on a team with cute boys, she looked up dreamily. Yeah, I responded. Remember, you have to keep your head up the entire time. If you hear a noise that isn't me or another person, you run or get to high ground. You got it? I asked with a slight smile. Sure, miss, if you don't do this, you're gonna die. Haha. We got there, it was almost full, but there weren't as many people that were accepted. In fact, there was only about 1/5 of the people that were accepted. Oh, jeez. I shrugged and got on my platform next to Velvet. We had gotten a chance to change into our battle clothes, and Velvet was wearing one that I made for her. It was an all-brown long-sleeve shirt and leggings combo thing with gold armor, shoulder pads, belt, and shoes. Her long hair was still a little curled, but was returning back to its straight nature. I was wearing my long-sleeve light brown shirt with a black corset over my stomach. I was also wearing black pants, my belt. I had a lot of other small details, but it may bore you if I wrote them all. We stood there on the launch platforms and waited. You'll be launched up into the air, and you go through the forest to find a relic. After you've gotten it, you'll come back to the cliff. Okay. Now you will have partners. So the first person you have eye contact with will be your partner for the rest of your time here. I gulped at hearing this. I looked at Velvet and told her what to do as the people got launched in the air. Alright, so when you get launched into the air, try to land on a tree or get your feet on the ground. Now, I will try to find you when I land. Now, kill everything that nothing is your friend unless it is human. And be careful around other people, okay? One last thing. Do not... I was cut off by my platform thrusting me in the air. I was prepared for it. I did a single flip and turned around to watch Velvet be ejected from the cliff. She flailed around and I gave her a thumbs up. She was scared, I could tell, but she was doing her best. Just as I felt the trees catching up to me, I grabbed a branch and watched Velvet fall into a cluster of trees a bit west of me. I started running there as fast as I could, killing every grew in my path. As I was almost there, my dreams were crushed by the sound of another human being. Yatsu, you here? He asked, looking around. He was the same boy from the orientation thing that I met. He had dark skin with bronze hair and vest. I can now see his weapon, which were 2 arm blades that matched his hair and vest color. The one thing to remember the most was he was blind. I didn't want to leave him here stranded looking for Yatsu or whoever, but I needed to be teammates with Velvet. Okay, I'm not Yatsu, but don't make eye contact with me because I have a friend who can't really defend herself, and I'm afraid that she may get a bad teammate, so please don't look at me. I blurted out all at once, then ran away from him to where Velvet was. Don't worry, Velvet, I'll be there soon. I found Velvet in a patch of flatland trying to kill an Ursa. She was making good effort, but I didn't think she could have made it if she were to have been here alone any longer. No! Fuck's sake. Okay. I found Velvet in a patch of flatland. Okay, yeah. Jesus. All right. I grabbed my bag and turned it into its Gatling gun form and shot the Ursa down. Velvet cowered in fear, but as I walked up to her, I hugged her tight. It's okay. I'm here. I said. I said and hugged, and she stood up. Jesus Christ. Shut up. I was doing good. Was I doing good? I retorted and laughed. Yes, you were doing just fine. Now come on. Time to find the relic. And with that, we were off. The relics were just empty vials of dust that were painted different colors. Velvet grabbed a light blue one, and we ran back up to the cliff. As we fought through the scarce grim that confronted us, I knew this day would be one of the best. Okay, so, alright, so we have, I would say about 4 chapters left. I know there's 6 chapters, but acknowledgements and the chapter after don't really matter, and I probably have things I need to be doing in like 10 minutes. But yeah, I don't really know. I don't know. Whatever. Well, like I said, the next we'll come back. We'll do this again. Yeah, whatever. All right. I just need to I don't remember. Well, I'm thinking about too much. We just need to end the episode. Next time we'll come back with the last of the story.